Overall food inflation basket, we know real food inflation is sitting at 3.2%. Why hasn't it fed through into Shoprite?
Well, I think the basis of measuring the food inflation in Shoprite is slightly different to that of the Department of Statistics. We measure every single item that was sold this year compared with its price a year back. So the basket of items is not just the basket of items, it's also the number of times it goes through the till. And that gives you a good indication as to shopping up or shopping down. Effectively means that if you bought the same basket this year than last year, that would be the real inflation. But that's a statistical sample.
But no, I don't comment on my salary because I don't fix my own salaries. But we have contractual relationships which is internationally based. So it's not that nice to go into Africa for the first time when nobody's been out there and the hotels are not good. So those elements do compensate you at least for the effort that you put in. But it is not nice to hear it every single day. It's not nice when you walk past the people that you work and love every day and think they earn X and you earn much more. That's not something which makes you feel proud. It's just, it's there. So I can also run it shop like SAA if you want me to pay me a small salary.
Shoprite Holdings is Africa's largest supermarket retailer, operating 3,152 stores across Africa. The company's headquarters are in Brackenfell in the Western Cape province of South Africa. Shoprite is a public company listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange with secondary listings on both the Namibian and Zambian stock exchanges. The Shoprite Group employs more than 152,000 people and is the biggest private sector employer in South Africa. In 1979, Barney Roggett and his family ran 8-store grocery chain in the Western Cape. WHITEY BASSON received a call from a friend who told him the family-owned food chain was up for sale. The company was Shoprite. WHITEY BASSON was working for Pepco founder and CEO Renier van Rooyen as CFO of Pepco, a discount clothing retailer founded in 1965. We also made a video on the history of Pep. Check it out and don't forget to subscribe. He had grown tired of running the balance sheet of a publicly listed company and wanted a fresh start. WHITEY was born James Wellwood Basson in 1946 in a small town of Porterville, Western Cape, just northeast of Cape Town. He studied accounting at the University of Stellenbosch. After completing his accounting articles, he joined Pepco as their financial director and head of operations in 1974 at the age of 28. WHITEY had a particular skill that would set him apart as an exceptional CEO later in his life. He was extremely good at negotiating and buying distressed companies. After he heard that Pepco's financial statements were being leaked to his rival Sam Stupple, who ran the Half Price Group, a Pepco competitor in discount clothing, WHITEY started a rumor that Pep was going in groceries. Afraid? Sam Stupple applied for a license to beat Pep to the punch, but that tactic put the company in financial distress and WHITEY bought the Half Price Group for cents on the rands. At the age of 33, WHITEY wanted a new challenge. He believed there was a gap in the market of serving the black population, that was being oppressed by the apartheid government, with consumer packaged goods like Pepco did with clothes, making them affordable to the masses. WHITEY wanted to do so with everyday goods and groceries. His strategy was, rather than build organically, he would gain scale by buying distressed grocers and refocusing them towards the mass population. So in 1979 WHITEY had found his first target, an 8-store grocery chain ran by Barney Roggett and his family in the Western Cape. WHITEY approached Pepco's board of directors to get the go-ahead to buy the grocery chain and install himself as CEO of the new company. In November of that year, WHITEY bought the 8 stores for 1 million rands, 30 million rands in today's value, from the Roggetts, and so the journey of the new Shoprite began. Having established the strategy of focusing on the mass underserved population, WHITEY and Shoprite targeted the Northern Cape Free State and Limpopo as the new markets outside of the Western Cape. In 1981 WHITEY got a new boss at parent company Pepco. The flamboyant Christo Wiese had bought out Renier van Rooyen's shares and assumed control of Pepco as chairman and by virtue control of Shoprite too. Christo pushed Whitey to grow using his person wealth and the balance sheet of Pepco. In 1984, Shoprite purchased 6 Ackermans grocers in a deal that saw Pepco take over 34 Ackermans clothing stores from Edgar's. By 1986, Shoprite had 33 outlets in various provinces and had an IPO on the JSE at a valuation of 29 million rands, 349 million rands in today's value. Shoprite was the younger sibling of Pepco, but as a public company, Shoprite hustled and hacked its way to scale. Because of their target market, landlords did not want Shoprite in their malls. Whitey decided if the company was to scale, they needed to move away from the malls and establish a presence as freestanding grocery stores in city centers. The preferred strategy for Shoprite was to grow via acquisitions of smaller grocery chains, but when they could not, they targeted freestanding property near city centers. The reason? Shoprite knew that their market did not live in towns but on the periphery due to spatial inequality brought about by apartheid laws. The best way to get their customers is on their way home, in city centers near the taxi rank. Shoprite would amass a portfolio of 40 freestanding stores in the years to come. At the turn of the decade, South Africa was still under apartheid rule, but Nelson Mandela was released on the 11th of February 1990. Around that time, Whitey was walking through a Grand Bazaar store, a subsidiary of Metro Cash and Carry. MCC and Grand Bazaars was run by Carlos dos Santos. Whitey noticed that some of their fridges were turned off and they only sold Coke products. In retail, how full your fridges are determines how much money the store makes, because beverages are high-margin goods and a profit driver. Whitey called Carlos to buy Grand Bazaars and they made a deal. Shoprite instantly gained 71 more stores. In 1991, not even a year after buying Grand Bazaars, Whitey had his eye on Checkers, one of the largest upmarket retailers in the country. Whitey was afraid that Raymond Ackerman, CEO of Pick n Pay and South Africa's version of Sam Walton, would buy it before him. Ackerman was once the chief executive at Checkers before he was fired. Whitey and Christo, with the help of Marinus Daling, chairman of Sanlam, one of South Africa's biggest insurance companies, orchestrated a reverse merger that saw Shoprite take over Checkers. A deal worth 55 million rands, 328 million rands in today's value. Checkers had been losing 45 million rands a year while being owned by Sanlam. The scale of Checkers gave Shoprite 241 stores. After 1994, Shoprite expanded aggressively in the SADC region, opening stores in Lusaka, Zambia in 1996, Maputo, Mozambique in 1997 and Botswana in 1998. During the same period, Shoprite bought a distribution center and technology company called Centra, which proved pivotal for Shoprite. They learned how distribution centers worked with small convenience stores. This allowed the company to be agile for years to come. Whitey did not stop doing deals. In 1997 he made one of South Africa's most famous deals. He bought one of his biggest retail groups in the country for R1, the OK Bazaars deal. The OK Bazaars Group operated 157 supermarkets and 146 furniture stores across the country. Whitey closed the century with the acquisition of Transpharm, a wholesaler and distributor of pharmaceutical products, and started the 21st century with over 600 stores split between Shoprite, Checkers and the OK franchise. In 2000, Shoprite bought Freshmark Systems, a procurement and inventory management system for fresh produce. Freshmarket pioneered fresh produce technology in 1987. The acquisition allowed Shoprite to optimize fresh produce management while scaling its distribution centers. Shoprite added ticking to its group of companies through the acquisition of CompuTicket and CompuTicket Travel from Media24 in 2005. The rationale for this was that the majority of their customers were purchasing travel tickets in stores, and the acquisition of CompuTicket would give the group online exposure and scale in travel buying, plus more customers. Shoprite created money kiosks for travel tickets in 1998 and layered additional financial services like airtime, funeral plan payments, prepaid electricity, lottery scratch cards and landline account payment. In 2006, on the strength of their money market kiosks in 400 Shoprite stores, Shoprite launched a domestic remittance service in partnership with Capitec Bank. The new service allowed customers to send up to 5,000 rands per day and 25,000 rands per month, in line with prepaid limits in South Africa, for R9.99 a transaction to any of the 400 in-store money market kiosks, undercutting banks by 50%. In 2009 the world was in a global recession, but WHITEY and his Shoprite produced an 11.9% growth in sales totaling 33 billion rands, and trading profit was up 17.5% to 1.6 billion rands. The 2010s brought more growth for Shoprite. There's a famous saying by Bidvest founder Brian Joff, where he says, "Bidvest does not partake in recessions." That line applies to Shoprite. Shoprite under WHITEY BASSON did not partake in recessions. In bad times they did good, in good times they did great. In 2011, WHITEY acquired Metcash Cash and Carry. Remember, he bought Grand Bazaars from Carlos dos Santos in 1991. MCC operated 150 stores under the Friendly and 7-Eleven brands. Those stores were integrated into the OK franchise. By 2012 Shoprite became the 92nd largest retailer in the world and the largest in Africa. WHITEY doubled down on the Africa expansion strategy, opening a store in Kinshasa, DRC. 2013 was the start of a tough couple of years in their rest of Africa markets, which saw Shoprite exiting a couple of markets. This did not slow down the group, opening a record 13 stores in a day, passing 1 billion transactions in a year at the rate of serving 83 customers per second, and revenue topping 130 billion rands in 2016. Unfortunately, 2016 would be WHITEY's last year at the helm of Shoprite. He had served as CEO for 38 years and grew tired of the media ridiculing his exorbitant salary, 50+ million rands a year. The constant change in regulation and the declining economic environment took a toll on the old man. WHITEY retired at the end of December 2016 with a golden handshake of 1 billion rands. Shoprite was in good shape when WHITEY left. Now led by Peter Engelbrecht, the group increased revenue and market share. By 2019, the Shoprite Group was the 86th largest retailer in the world. Towards the end of 2019, the group as a whole started to prioritize value-added services in South Africa. In November, Checkers launched a grocery delivery service called 6060 and a loyalty card program called Checkers Extra Savings Card. The Checkers Extra Savings Card signed up 1 million people in 72 hours and 5 million people within the first 6 months. In October of 2020, the Shoprite Checkers Group launched the Extra Savings Card to Shoprite customers, signing up 1 million people within 72 hours at a rate of 400 people a minute.